American Airlines emergency line, please state your emergency.
The morning of September 11th, 2001, started out just like thousands of others. Within a few minutes, it would become the last normal morning in America's history. The people rushing to work that Tuesday had less than an hour left before their city turned into the site of one of the biggest tragedies of the 20th century. At 8:46 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 slams into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. The blast tears through the upper floors, sending glass and metal flying through the air. People on the street freeze, staring up. Most assume it's a horrible accident. The pilot lost control. Something went wrong with the plane. Television is already broadcasting live. The burning tower, a symbol of America's financial power, in full view of the entire country.
Love you. I want you to do good. So have a good time. And I just totally love you. And I'll see you later. Bye, babe. Bye,
17 minutes later, every theory about an accident falls apart. United Airlines Flight 175 crashes into the South Tower. A second burst of fire, and the city realizes this isn't an accident, it's an attack. Panic grips Manhattan. People run through the smoke. Some cry, some scream, some just stand frozen, unable to believe what's happening.
That looks like a second plane.
Oh, there's another one. Another plane just hit. Right. Oh, my God. Another plane has just hit. It hit another building. Flew right into the middle of it.
Oh, my goodness, there's another...
Inside the towers, thousands of people are trapped. Some try to make their way down smoke-filled stairwells. Others call their loved ones, leaving final words. Many have no way out at all. Meanwhile, the people whose job is to save lives head straight into the fire. Firefighters and police officers climb upward, carrying dozens of pounds of gear, while thousands of people stream down past them. They know exactly what they're walking into.
Oh my goodness. We're looking at
9:37, a third plane hits the Pentagon, a symbol of America's military power. The attack widens. At 9:59 a.m., in front of a stunned world, the South Tower collapses in a matter of seconds. A gray cloud of dust swallows the streets of Lower Manhattan. Half an hour later, the North Tower gives way too. The city's skyline is changed forever. Survivors stumble out of the ash cloud, coated in gray dust, disoriented, almost ghost-like. The city that was buzzing with life just that morning now looks like a war zone.
We're getting reports that a part of...
At 10:03, a fourth plane, United Airlines Flight 93, goes down in a field in Pennsylvania. Its passengers, having learned the fate of the other flights, fight back against the hijackers. Their decision most likely saved another target from being hit.
United Airlines Flight number 93 left Newark at 8:01 this morning en route to San Francisco. It went down in Shanksville, Pennsylvania.
I hope I live. I hope I live. It's coming down on me.
And there's, you can see, perhaps the second tower, the front tower, the top. Of which is collapsing. Good Lord.
Both trade towers, where thousands of people work.
Hospitals fill up within minutes. But doctors quickly grasp a grim truth. There are fewer wounded than expected, because most of the people inside the towers never made it out alive. On the streets, relatives hold up photos of the missing, hoping for a miracle. The whole world, from Rome to Tokyo, sits frozen in front of their screens. This is no longer an attack on one country. It's a shared trauma. All civilian flights across the U.S. are grounded. Airports shut down. For the first time in modern history, the country is completely on the ground. Stock markets halt trading. Governments around the world go on high alert. In under 2 hours, it's not just one city's skyline that changes. Global politics shifts for decades to come. The wars in Afghanistan and then Iraq. A new era of total security and control at airports. Today, One World Trade Center stands where the Twin Towers once stood, a new symbol of the city's rebirth. Next to it is the memorial, 2 black reflecting pools, where water flows in silence, and the names of everyone who died that day carved into the stone. It's a place of pain, but also a place of memory, one that shouldn't be allowed to fade. September 11th, 2001 lasted just over 100 minutes, but the market left can't be measured in time. If you found it interesting to see how one day changed the course of history, hit like and subscribe to the channel. There are plenty more stories ahead that are worth remembering.
Money is not just paper with numbers on it. A modern banknote is one of the most technologically complex, mass-produced products ever created by humankind. In terms of security, precision, and engineering complexity, it is comparable to military electronics. Yet it must remain inexpensive, wear-resistant, and instantly recognizable to millions of people. Every day we hold it in our hands without thinking that behind this thin strip of paper stands an entire industry hidden from view. Engineers, chemists, designers, security specialists, automation experts, and cryptographers work together to create an object that is impossible to copy, yet easy to verify. This film is a rare opportunity to look behind closed doors. We will trace the journey of a single banknote from raw material to the moment it ends up in a wallet. We will see factories that resemble fortresses, machines operating with micron-level precision, and security systems where mistakes are unacceptable. Why does the banknote remain relevant in the digital age? Because cash does not depend on electricity, servers, or networks. It works always. And that is precisely why its protection must be absolute. Every line on a banknote is a barrier. Every layer is a trap for counterfeiters. Every stage of production is a secret. And it all begins not with a printing press, but with cotton. Any banknote begins long before it reaches the printing press. Its story starts in the fields, where cotton of a special quality is grown. This is not the cotton used to make clothing or textiles. Banknotes require long fiber cotton, distinguished by exceptional strength, purity, and uniformity of structure. The raw material is selected according to dozens of parameters: fiber length, impurity content, moisture level, and chemical composition. Any deviation can affect the durability of the future banknote. The cotton undergoes multi-stage purification, during which organic residues, dust, and microparticles invisible to the human eye are removed. But cotton is only the foundation. Even at this stage, chemistry enters the process. Special binding agents are added to the fibers to increase wear resistance. The formula of these additives is classified. It determines how the paper will respond to moisture, heat, friction, and time. At this same stage, future security is embedded. Colored or fluorescent security fibers may be added to the pulp, chaotically distributed threads that are impossible to reproduce with precision. Their arrangement never repeats, making each banknote unique already at the material level. The production of raw materials for banknotes allows no compromises. Every batch is documented, tracked, and tested. Access to information is strictly limited, and suppliers undergo certification comparable to that of the defense industry. There are still no images, denominations, or numbers here, but there is already something that cannot be counterfeited, because money begins to protect itself long before any image appears on it. Banknote paper is not just a sheet. It is an engineered structure designed from the ground up for a specific purpose, to survive millions of hands and remain authentic. The process of creating it takes place at specialized factories that outwardly resemble closed scientific complexes more than industrial plants. Access is restricted, and each area is divided by security clearance levels. Even employees see only the part of the process for which they are responsible. The cotton pulp is fed into massive vats, where it is transformed into a uniform suspension. Temperature, mixing speed, and chemical balance are automatically controlled. Any change in parameters is recorded by the system and can stop the entire line. At this stage, key security elements are embedded into the paper. Watermarks are formed not afterward, but directly during the paper forming process. Special molds create areas of varying density, making the image visible when held up to the light. This is not printing. It is the structure of the paper itself. In parallel, a multi-layer substrate is formed. Some layers provide strength, others define tactile feel, and others ensure compatibility with printing inks. All of this is done with micron-level precision. Security threads may be embedded into the paper, metallic, polymer, or hybrid. They can surface, remain hidden inside, or change their position according to a predetermined algorithm. Their behavior in light, under ultraviolet radiation, and when tilted is calculated in advance. When the sheet is formed, it is not yet banknote paper in the full sense. It must undergo drying, stabilization, and a series of tests: tensile strength, bending, abrasion, and exposure to water and chemicals. Only after this does the paper receive clearance for the next stage. Printing on unsuitable paper is meaningless. Because real money begins with a material that cannot be replicated, the watermark is one of the oldest and, at the same time, one of the most complex security features of banknotes. It cannot be applied on top of finished paper. It is born together with it. The process of creating a watermark begins long before printing. Engineers and designers develop an image that must be recognizable, yet extremely complex in structure. It is not just a portrait or a symbol. It is gradations of density, subtle transitions of light and shadow, calculated with micron-level precision. During the formation of the paper web, a special cylinder is used, a forming element with a relief pattern. It alters the distribution of fibers in specific areas. In some places, the paper becomes denser, in others, thinner. As a result, an image appears that is visible only when held up to the light. Modern watermarks are multi-layered. They incorporate smooth transitions, micro details, and additional elements that appear under different lighting angles. Some parts of a watermark may be integrated with a security thread or other components of the paper. Quality control at this stage is especially strict. The slightest shift or density irregularity renders the watermark unusable. Cameras compare every sheet against a reference standard, detecting deviations invisible to the human eye. Counterfeiting a watermark is one of the most difficult challenges for forgers. Imitation by printing or laser methods is easily detected upon the first inspection. A genuine watermark lives inside the paper, not on its surface. It is an element that cannot be drawn in. It either exists or it does not. And that is why the watermark remains one of the primary symbols of monetary authenticity. When the paper with embedded security elements is ready, it is transferred to the printing hall. Here, the visual life of the future dollar banknote begins. This space resembles a sterile industrial facility more than a traditional printing house. Unauthorized personnel are not allowed here. Every entry requires inspection, biometric verification, and escort. Offset printing is the first stage of image application on the dollar banknote. This is where the primary backgrounds, color transitions, fine lines, and complex ornaments appear. Printing is carried out on large sheets, each containing dozens of future dollar banknotes at the same time. The printing machines occupy entire halls. Their precision is measured in microns. The slightest shift in color or form renders a sheet unusable. Cameras and sensors compare the result to the reference in real time. If the system detects a deviation, the line is stopped. The inks are supplied automatically from secured containers. Their consumption is strictly accounted for. Any discrepancy is flagged by the security service. Even printing waste is collected and destroyed under supervision. Offset printing creates visual complexity that is difficult to replicate by digital means. Gradients, subtle transitions, and multi-layered backgrounds fall apart when copied, immediately revealing a counterfeit. Around the perimeter of the hall, security. Cameras, access-controlled zones, and a ban on any personal items. Workers undergo checks before each shift. There are no random people here. After offset printing, the dollar banknote still appears flat. But this is only the beginning. Intaglio is the heart of printing. It is this stage that gives the dollar banknote its recognizable tactile feel. What a person can sense with their fingers cannot be reproduced by copying or scanning. Unlike offset printing, Intaglio uses a form of deep engraving. The image is etched into metal plates. Ink fills the grooves and is then transferred onto the paper under immense pressure. The pressure is so great that the surface of the dollar banknote is literally deformed, creating a raised relief. Intaglio machines are among the most powerful and expensive in production. They operate slowly but with absolute precision. Every press is a controlled process. Temperature, pressure, and ink viscosity, everything is recorded automatically. The relief is used not only for tactile effect, it creates optical shadows that change when the note is tilted. This is another barrier against counterfeiting. Any attempt to imitate the relief leads to instant detection. Access to the intaglio plates is strictly limited. They are stored in safes, moved only under guard, and accounted for individually. Loss or damage of a plate is considered a serious incident. The intaglio hall is a high-security zone. Only employees with the highest clearance work here. Cameras never turn off, not for a second. After this stage, the dollar banknote acquires character. It can already be recognized with closed eyes. The final stage of printing is letterpress. It is used to apply specific elements, serial number areas, security details, and additional markings. Here, precision is more important than speed. Letterpress adds the last layer of information to the dollar banknote. This can include fine lines, special symbols, or elements designed for machine reading. The pressure is less than in intaglio, but the alignment requirements are extreme. The final stage of printing is letterpress. It is used to apply specific elements, serial number areas, security details, and additional markings. Here, precision is more important than speed. Letterpress adds the last layer of information to the dollar banknote. This can include fine lines, special symbols, or elements designed for machine reading. The pressure is less than in intaglio, but the alignment requirements are extreme. Employees are not allowed to take anything out. No trimmings, no rejects, no personal items. At the end of the shift, everything related to the dollar banknote either continues along the production line or is destroyed. The production of money is impossible without absolute control. The factory where the dollar banknote is created is a facility with a multi-level security system, comparable to military enterprises. All personnel are divided by clearance levels. An offset printing worker has no access to the intaglio section. A packaging specialist will never see the printing stage. Even engineers know only their own area. No one sees the full picture. Every entry point requires biometrics, access cards, and a time log. Before the start of a shift, employees undergo inspection. Personal items are prohibited. Pockets, shoes, clothing, everything is checked. Cameras record every step. Movement within the factory is strictly regulated. Routes are predefined. Any deviation is automatically recorded by the security system. A protocol violation triggers an immediate investigation. Working with dollar banknotes is not just a profession, it is a constant responsibility, where trust must be proven every single day. Before being released into the financial system, the dollar banknotes are stored in secure vaults. These consist of concrete, steel, motion sensors, and climate control. Temperature and humidity are strictly regulated. The paper must not deform. Access is allowed only through multi-factor authentication. Each vault is an autonomous zone. Even within the factory, they are isolated from each other. Here, the dollar banknote is not just a means of payment, but a strategic asset. The transfer of dollar banknotes is a strictly regulated operation. Armored vehicles, armed escorts, and pre-approved routes are used. Containers are sealed. Any tampering is recorded. Responsibility for the cargo passes from the manufacturer to the central bank through documents and digital protocols. From this moment, the dollar banknote officially becomes part of the country's monetary system. In circulation, the dollar banknote lives its most active life. It passes through the hands of people, cash registers, ATMs, and vaults. Over time, the paper wears, but the security features continue to function. It is at this stage that the quality of production truly shows.
4 kilometers below the surface of the Atlantic Ocean, in complete darkness and near freezing water, lies the most famous ship in history, the Titanic. A massive British ocean liner that was supposed to be the pride of the empire and a symbol of 20th century engineering. Instead, it became the most notorious maritime disaster of the modern era. On the night of April 14th, 1912, it struck an iceberg and sank in just 2 hours and 40 minutes, taking 1,500 people down with it. That was 113 years ago, and the Titanic is still down there, 3,800 meters deep, about 600 kilometers off the coast of Newfoundland. For an entire century, it felt like a ghost. We knew it was there. We just couldn't see it. Its exact location wasn't even confirmed until 1985. But now, thanks to the latest technology, we've finally been able to see inside in ways we never could before. In 2024 and 2025, the Titanic was fully scanned in stunning 3D detail for the very first time. But first, let's talk about what kind of ship this actually was. The Titanic was built in Belfast at the Harland and Wolff shipyard. Nearly 270 meters long, 9 decks, 4 massive funnels, 3 functional, and 1 added purely for looks. When it launched in 1911, it was the largest moving object ever built by human hands. First class wasn't just a cabin, it was a floating 5-star hotel. French cuisine restaurants, a swimming pool, a gym, a library, fresh flowers shipped in from London. The most expensive suite would cost over $100,000 in today's money. On board were some of the wealthiest people alive. Millionaire John Jacob Astor, Macy's owner Isidore Straus, and industrialist Benjamin Guggenheim. Third class was a completely different world. Immigrants, mostly Irish and Eastern European, were heading to America hoping for a better life. They slept in cramped shared cabins and had almost no access to the upper decks. Of the more than 2,000 people on board, only 710 survived. The Titanic didn't just sink, it broke in 2. As the stern rose nearly vertical, the hull couldn't take the stress and tore apart. The bow and stern fell separately and now rest about 600 meters apart, divided by a massive debris field. Thousands of objects scattered across the ocean floor. The bow is almost recognizable. It sits upright in the silt, largely intact. This is the image you've seen in every famous photograph. The stern is the complete opposite. The impact with the bottom was catastrophic. The decks collapsed into each other. The steel twisted and crushed beyond recognition. Today, it's nothing but a tangled heap of metal. Only about half the ship survived in any recognizable form. But even like this, broken, rusted, buried in the deep, the Titanic is still keeping its secrets. And slowly, one by one, giving them up. Now let's talk about how the Titanic was actually found. For 73 years after the disaster, nobody knew exactly where it was. The ocean is vast, and searching for a specific object 4 kilometers down is nearly impossible. It wasn't until September 1st, 1985, that a joint French-American expedition led by oceanographer Robert Ballard from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution finally located the wreck. Here's a detail that was kept quiet for years. Ballard's real mission wasn't the Titanic at all. The U.S. Navy was funding him to locate two sunken American nuclear submarines, the Thresher and the Scorpion, lost in the Atlantic in the 1960s. The Navy gave him permission to search for the Titanic, only with whatever time was left over. That was 12 days. And in those 12 days, he found it. First came one of the ship's boilers lying on the ocean floor, then the ship itself. When the first clear image of the bow appeared on the monitor, the room went completely silent. Everyone understood they weren't just looking at wreckage, they were looking at the grave of 1,500 people. Dozens of expeditions followed. In 1986, Ballard returned with the deep-sea submersible Alvin and a small robot called Jason Jr. For the first time, they went inside. The little robot, roughly the size of a lawnmower, descended through the famous grand staircase shaft. What it found was extraordinary. Despite more than 70 years underwater, many rooms were remarkably well preserved. Bronze chandeliers still hung from ceilings. Wooden wall panels were still standing. Carved decorations were still visible. Wood normally rots within years in seawater, but here, the extreme depth, near freezing temperatures, absence of light, and almost no oxygen had slowed everything down. Now, many people assume the grand staircase still exists in all its glory. It doesn't. The oak staircase itself collapsed almost as soon as the ship began to sink. Water rushed in through the glass dome above it, and the staircase was torn loose and floated away. What remains today is just a deep open shaft dropping through several decks. That's exactly where Jason Jr. descended in 1986. So what survived? Surprisingly, a lot. The most astonishing room on the entire ship is the Turkish bath, a first-class luxury lounge decorated in an Ottoman style, with star and crescent ceiling patterns, mosaic tiles, bronze lamps, and carved chairs. When researchers sent cameras inside in 2005, it looked as if it had been sealed for 40 or 50 years, not over a century. The bronze fixtures were nearly intact. The wall tiles were still in place, traces of decorative flooring still visible on the ground. It's the best preserved room on the ship, protected deep inside the hull, away from currents and salvagers. The first-class cabins tell their own story. Most of the wood and fabric is long gone, eaten away by deep-sea organisms. But small objects remain. A wash basin with its ceramic bowl and pitcher, still sitting on its stand. A single shoe lying on the floor. A brass bed frame with no mattress. These ordinary personal things hit harder than any grand ballroom, because behind every shoe is a real person, a real life, and a real last moment. And then there's the engine room. This is where the Titanic's engineers and stokers worked. It's better preserved than most of the ship. Metal outlasts wood, and it holds the story's most powerful moment. Eyewitness accounts from survivors always spoke of the engineers staying at their posts until the very end, keeping the generators running so the lights stayed on and the radio kept transmitting distress calls. Of more than 30 engineers on board, not one survived. In 2024 and 2025, the 3D scan confirmed it beyond any doubt. One of the boiler room steam valves was found left in the open position, meaning the engineers were actively maintaining power to the generators right up until the end. They died at their stations, doing their jobs to the last second. Now let's talk about the debris field, the vast stretch of ocean floor surrounding the Titanic, scattered with hundreds of thousands of objects. When the ship broke apart and sank, everything inside poured out. That rain of wreckage and personal belongings spread across nearly 3 kilometers. Today, the debris field is essentially an open-air museum, except the sky here is 4 kilometers of freezing water. You can find everything down there. Suitcases, bottles of champagne, many still sealed, plates, children's toys, pocket watches stopped at different times, eyeglasses, combs, inkwells, banknotes. Some have been recovered and are still legible. There's a striking amount of shoes on the seafloor. Tanned leather isn't broken down by local bacteria the way wood or bone is, and pairs often lie close together. A man's boot and a woman's shoe, side by side. That's not coincidence. That's where two people once lay. Their bodies were claimed by the ocean long ago. But the shoes remain. It's one of the most haunting sights at the entire wreck site. And now, one of the most remarkable discoveries in the entire history of Titanic exploration. In the very last hours of the 2024 expedition, on the final day of work, researchers stumbled across a bronze statue of the goddess Diana. Nearly 2 meters tall, it once stood at the center of the first-class lounge. When the Titanic sank, the lounge collapsed and Diana fell to the bottom. For 112 years, she lay there in the darkness, completely unnoticed. She was found lying face up, perfectly intact. The bronze features are so well preserved you can make out her eyelashes. The Titanic also carried special safes for the jewelry and cash of first-class passengers. Several have been recovered over the years. In 1987, a French team opened one of them live on American television. Inside, banknotes, coins, jewelry. There's a legend that the ship was also carrying an illustrated manuscript of Omar Khayyam's Rubaiyat, bound in a cover set with 1,500 rubies, emeralds, and turquoise. The object was real. It was purchased in London shortly before the voyage. It's believed to still be somewhere in the debris field. If it's ever found, it would be a sensation on a global scale. But the biggest achievement of recent years is the complete digital twin of the Titanic. The company Magellan, working with National Geographic, spent 6 weeks capturing over 700,000 images and millions of laser measurements. Processing all that data took nearly 2 years. In April 2025, the documentary Titanic, Digital Resurrection was released, and the world saw the result for the first time. Scientists can now walk through the ship in digital space, examining every rivet and every patch of rust in full detail. It's an entirely new era in the study of sunken ships, and the digital twin brought new discoveries. It turned out the ship broke apart at a steeper angle than previously believed. The stern flipped far more violently than shown in James Cameron's film. Previously unknown damage was found near the keel, and most importantly, it's now definitively clear that the iceberg didn't punch one large hole in the hull. It created a series of narrow cracks totaling just 1 to 2 square meters. But that was enough to flood 6 watertight compartments simultaneously. The ship was designed to survive 4 at most. The Titanic was doomed from the very first second of impact. But now for the difficult part. The Titanic is deteriorating. Right now, as we speak. The ship's greatest enemy isn't water pressure or ocean currents. It's a bacterium, Halomonas titanicae, discovered in 2010 on the wreck itself and named in its honor. It feeds on iron, literally consuming the steel hull. Those orange-brown rusticles hanging from the ship's sides in every famous photograph. That's its work. Every day, the bacteria destroy an estimated 100 to 200 kilograms of steel. The hull grows weaker year by year. In 2024, an expedition recorded a significant and sobering moment. A 5-meter section of railing on the port side of the bow collapsed to the seafloor, the very railing where Jack and Rose stood in Cameron's film. Now, it lies in the silt. Scientists estimate that within 30 to 40 years, the bow could collapse entirely. By the end of the century, the famous silhouette may be nothing but a rust stain on the ocean floor. That's why every new expedition, every new photograph, is an irreplaceable document, a record of something we risk losing forever. A debate has been raging around the Titanic for 4 decades. Should objects be recovered from the wreck? One American company has raised more than 5,500 artifacts, now displayed in exhibitions around the world. Supporters argue that everything will disappear with the ship anyway, so it's better to preserve what we can for future generations. Robert Ballard, the man who found the Titanic, is firmly against it. His position is simple. The Titanic is not a treasure site or a museum. It's a mass grave. He said it plainly. Don't touch the Titanic, and don't get married on it. That second warning wasn't random. In 2001, an American couple held a wedding ceremony on the Titanic's deck inside a submersible. Many considered it a desecration. Legally, the question remains unresolved. The ship lies in international waters and technically belongs to no one. In 2003, UNESCO added the wreck to its list of underwater cultural heritage sites. But meaningful enforcement is still largely absent. In June 2023, the tourist submersible Titan, operated by OceanGate, imploded during a dive to the Titanic. All 5 people on board died instantly. More than a century later, the Titanic is still claiming the lives of those who try to reach it. And yet, it's still there. Its decks catch the light of our flood lamps. Its portholes stare into the darkness like the eyes of someone who remembers everything, but will never speak again. Somewhere in the silt lies a single shoe, a pair of cups, a child's toy. Somewhere in the dark, a bronze Diana lies, face up toward a sky she will never see. In 100 years, there may be nothing left, just a faint shadow in the sediment. But for now, the Titanic still holds April 1912. That world which sank forever. The world between the last dinner and the first cry for help. And as long as we remember, it will never fully disappear.